Hey everyone. A lot of people, when we think about emergency preparedness, we think food, water, generators, emergency supplies, and of course, those things matter. But the more I look at what's happening around us, the more I wonder if the bigger issue is something else entirely. Like, what if the real preparedness challenge of the future, it's not a lack of resources? What if it's access to the resources? Like, think about it for a minute. What if one day you needed permission to access something that you take for granted today? And not because it didn't exist and not because that there's a shortage, but because access itself had become digital and then denied, like a payment, a reservation, a permit, a service, an approval. Like, think about it. When you take a look around, how many things already work that way? One thing that I don't think anyone can honestly argue anymore is that life is becoming more digital. Everything is online. It's happening. We see it every single day. Banking, payments, shopping, government services, travel, education, communication, and artificial intelligence. We got more apps, we have more accounts, we have more logins, more systems connected to other systems. And it's just kind of like the world that we're living in right now. So I don't know. I don't think that the question isn't whether it's happening. I think the question is, where is it going? The more I think about preparedness, the more I keep coming back to the same three things: food and water, energy and money. Because at the end of the day, most of us depend on those three things, whether we realize it or not. Like, if food and water becomes harder to access, people are going to notice. If energy becomes harder to access, people are going to notice. And if money becomes harder to access, well, people are definitely going to notice. So the future challenge may not be finding the resources, it may be obtaining and maintaining access to them. And that's why I wanted to talk about this today, because I really do think that this conversation matters. What concerns me, it's not AI itself. What concerns me is what happens when artificial intelligence, digital identities, programmable money, surveillance, and access control all begin working together. Because at that point, we're no longer just talking about technology, we're talking about control. And we're talking about who decides who gets access and who doesn't. And one thing that I think, a lot of us can see, right, is how much of life now requires permission. And it's not permission from a person, it's permission from a system with no one person accountable on the back end. We got an account, a login, user verification, user approval, user access. Think about how many things you do today that require some kind of digital permission. We got banking, shopping, travel, government services, reservations, applications, even access to information. Like 20 years ago, a lot of this simply wasn't part of everyday life. Today, it's normal. And the trend, it doesn't seem to be slowing down. If anything, it seems to be accelerating. We got more AI. We have more digital identities, more digital payments, more automation, more surveillance, more systems making decisions. And I don't think that these things are fringe observations. I think that they're pretty obvious. And from a preparedness perspective, I think it's worth paying attention to, because the more I think about this, the more it's very obvious that convenience and resilience, they're not the same thing. In fact, they're the polar opposites. Like, food delivered to your door, that is convenient. Knowing how to grow food is resilient. Unlimited electricity, that is convenient, but knowing how to function when the power goes out is resilient. And then look at digital payments. Well, that's super convenient. But maybe we need to look at having alternatives like cash and barter instead. And preparedness, it's not about rejecting technology. I mean, I use it every single day. Most of us do. But I think we still need to make sure that we still have options. Because when things change, the people with options tend to do better than the people without them. And I think that this is, like, if you think about it, I think that this is why people who've been prepping have been way ahead of the curve. Like, for decades, we've talked about gardens, food preservation, alternative energy, skills, community, local producers, barter, mutual assistance. And not because we're trying to disconnect from society, but when we are resilient, then we have options. Every skill, every relationship, every backup plan, it creates options. Every step towards self-reliance creates options. And today, I think that's more important than it's ever been. Um, and I'm not a pessimist. In fact, I'm more optimistic now than I ever have been because I'm starting to see people. They're starting gardens. They're learning practical skills. People are more awake and aware. They want to support their local producers, build stronger communities, share knowledge. And I think that that's where the real reason or the real answer is, not waiting for somebody else to solve the problems anymore, and definitely not assuming that bigger systems will always take care of us, but building resilience ourselves, one family at a time, one neighborhood at a time, and one community at a time. And I genuinely believe that we can build a future that is more resilient, more local, and more connected to the things that actually matter. I believe that future generations, they can reconnect with some of the basics that we've lost along the way. If we teach future generations how to grow food, build things, fix things, work together and help one another, to me, I truly believe that that is a future worth building. And one thing that does, it gives me hope, is that more people, because they're awake and they're more aware, they are starting to have these conversations. And that's one of the reasons that we built our platform, preppingcommunities.com. Not because we have all the answers, but because preparedness is easier when people learn from one another. And if you're interested in connecting with people, preparing and sharing information and knowledge, I encourage you to join our platform where membership is free, and it will also give you access to more than 10,000 free preparedness postings available that cover everything from food storage and water preparedness to communications, homesteading, gardening, emergency planning, and so much more. And if you'd like to if you'd like access to that information when the internet isn't available, we've also created Prepper Offline, which is it's a searchable offline preparedness website containing all of the thousands of preparedness resources. And you can store on multiple copies on your computer, a USB drive, external hard drive. And put them in your emergency kit, your vehicle, your cabin, your off-grid location. I will leave the links below if you are interested. So before I wrap up, I think the future challenge may not be finding resources. I think it may be obtaining and maintaining access to them, to the food, the energy, the money, the information, our services. And my question to you is, when you look at the direction that things are heading, do you think access will become one of the defining preparedness challenges of our time? I think so. How concerned are you about growing dependence on digital systems? And what steps, if any, have you taken to become a little less dependent on them? Please leave a comment below. I would genuinely love to hear your thoughts. So I would like to say that's it for today, folks. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me. I always appreciate you taking the time. And until the next video, stay prepared and stay informed. I'll see you in the next one.